growing up, you saw a lot of movies that I watched. Yes,
I sneak into your VHS collection plenty of times.
definitely can say that some movies you've watched, I had never watched as you grew
Absolutely.
up. Even though we have similarities in our taste in movies and shows, you do have a different taste in other things. You like dark stuff, goth stuff. You're more into the horror stuff, where I'm more into the action and comic book stuff. And you like your anime. I like anime too, but you have beat me in the sense of the love for it. That being said, we recently did a review of Surf Ninjas, something that's more of your taste, of your liking. And I choose Hero at Large, a movie that was made before you were born. It starred one of my comedic heroes growing up, John Ritter from Three's Company.
Hmm.
And this is one of his few films that he's done. And it is so low received that on Rotten Tomatoes, there is no critic score.
Okay.
Well, it's weird. On Rotten Tomatoes, there's actually some reviews by the critics. There's three, but they didn't give it a score.
Yeah.
When there's over 1,000 reviews by the audience,
I mean, John
I don't,
Ritter's done a lot of films.
I don't think they were successful as well in the sense of what he's done for television.
Oh, well, successful's yeah, that's I didn't know that was a stipulation.
And what's good about or cool about doing these throwback reviews is that you see stars that up and coming
Hmm.
or that were well established.
Yeah.
And we saw that here.
Hmm.
Let's get our review on because I just took a gummy. I'm not
Jesus.
gonna sure how. Yeah, I'm not gonna sure how well I'm gonna last here.
So you're already going. All right, let's do this.
Welcome back to Tales of Two Bros. My name is Angel,
I'm Adon.
where we give you a review at least once a week. Spoiler alert. Yeah, the gummy's still dissolving here. You never saw this movie before, right?
Nope, never did.
How did you watch it?
On TV.
Oh shit. But I'm saying, did you use a streaming? What kind of streaming service did you? Because
Fandango.
you did Fandango. You rented it.
Yeah, no, it was free.
Oh, it was free on Fandango.
Well, at the time, I don't know about now.
Shit.
Uh,
But when
it,
did
it
you see
did
it?
yeah, right around the same time as Surf Ninjas. It did have a lot of commercials, so
Okay.
that would have been a down for you
How was the quality?
for a movie that was in the 1980s,
Hmm.
and the budget probably wasn't the best of budgets. I would say it was on par with what I would have anticipated from a movie that old.
Yeah, it was similar to like Nighthawks
Kind of, yeah.
quality.
It felt like it was more like a 1970s film, but that I attributed that to like probably the production and budget and so forth like that.
Well, it probably was filmed in the 1970s, like 1979, and released in 1980 with editing and post production, all this
Well,
stuff.
yeah. Hmm.
I saw on Amazon Prime. I rented it.
Mm.
It's about 97 minutes long. Since it was your first time, what did you think about the project as a whole?
As a whole, it's an interesting movie. It's
Hmm.
an interesting concept as a film. It's not something that I would say I would leap to watch again.
Oh, of course, right.
Yeah. It's interesting for the actors that were in it and for like the production of it and like watching like as things
Mhm.
go. Overall story, I've seen that story done multiple times, so I don't know if this was like one of the earlier ones to try to get that kind of motif of a story.
For me, I think this movie was ahead of its time because it wasn't really big thing to have comic book movies or comic book related movies
True,
as it
like
are
what was it?
now.
Captain America was like 1970s or 60s, and then they didn't have anything after that until like the 80s or something like that.
Captain America.
Yeah, the original Captain America movie was like,
That was made for TV though.
yeah,
That didn't come out to the theaters. But like this was the movie they were promoting, Captain Avenger, was a movie out in the theaters.
this was out in theaters.
Hero at Large was, yes, but Captain Avenger was not.
I didn't even know this was in theaters. I thought this was
Oh yeah.
like, I felt like this was made for TV.
No, no, no. It was PG, rated PG. Remember, back then in the 80s, 70s, streaming was not major.
Hmm.
We had like we grew up in South, you weren't born yet, but grew up in South Jersey. We had three channels in the sense of streaming. HBO, then came Prism, and then which was a Philly area, Prism was a
Okay.
Philly tri-state area cable station, and then like Cinemax came. But before that, HBO in the beginning stages was only on the weekends. During the week, HBO did not have service. It was like up and coming. It was starting off. So they just promoted or had movies on the weekends. and Ben Stiller's parents hosted it. Almost like how like MTV first started, they had hosts that would present the videos or the comedy sketches. Ben Stiller's parents will introduce what's coming up, like, and talk a little bit with each other and
Mhm.
about some works and about like their favorite scenes on certain movies that they're about to present. That was their role. And then as HBO started becoming more popular and the finances started coming in, then it became to what it is now.
Okay. I did double check, like, so HBO launched, I mean, they can trace the timeline back to 1966, but it launched on November 8th, 1972 for transmitting on the cable systems. It was like literally the beginning of the modern pay television. So
Mhm.
HBO was the one that got it all started, really.
Exactly. That's where I first saw this, was on HBO.
Okay.
That was my introduction to this movie, even though I knew who John Ritter was, but, as a kid, we don't know the real actual name of the actor. We just see the character. John Ritter to me was Jack Tripper from Three's Company.
Yeah.
So when I saw that he was doing this, I was like, "Oh, I wanna watch it," because I love Jack Tripper. He was funny. He was hysterical in Three's Company.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into it, do you know who I was referring to in a sense, up and comer?
Oh, yeah. I saw him.
Go ahead. Who was it?
Kevin Bacon.
That's right.
It was like an extra part, and it was like
Oh,
it
no,
was
it was a
literally
small
right
part.
before Friday the 13th.
It was before you were born.
I'll let you
Yeah.
guys correct us.
No, I'll do it right now. Hold up. I'll
Ah.
check. I'll check for everybody.
A few moments later.
Actually, we're both wrong. It came out in 1980 as well.
Oh, shoot. Oh,
Do you know an established actor that was in it? There was, of course, back in that time, there was a lot of established actors, but there was one actor that we reviewed his movie, and he was here as well at the end.
uh,
The fire chief,
oh,
the thing that came from another planet.
oh, uh, yeah, I can't remember his name though. That's the thing that's bugging me.
Right. Okay. But he was in it. He was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fire chief. When we reviewed the thing from another planet, I told you he did a lot of movies after that, like
Mhm.
small parts and stuff like that. And he was in this. And I didn't know he was in this. I was like happily surprised to see him here.
Kenneth Tobey.
Oh my God. I'm just looking at the critics' response. Roger Ebert says, Hero at Large is a big, dumb, silly, good hearted albatross of a comedy that made find an audience among John Ritter fans, but not find one with me.
That was a nice way of saying he just didn't like it.
So, and you have Ann Archer. Damn, she's sexy. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, enhancements is nice and all, but back then it was all natural.
I don't think they had a choice.
But there were some enhancements back then starting. But I'm just saying, it was nice to see that, no fake boobs, ass, lips, hair. I was very appreciative. I enjoyed this movie in a sense, not necessarily nostalgia, but in a sense of me living in New York for about almost 20 years. No, 15, I'll say 15 to 20 years. And seeing how Times Square in the opening scene, how it evolved. Because it was
Yeah.
very rough. It was very rough back then. And it changed a whole lot.
Mhm.
And it felt like John was being himself. From all the stories I've heard about him and behind the scenes stuff, how well, or not how well, but how nice he was to everybody.
Okay.
He was so kind-hearted and caring. And yeah, he worked, but he was a person that also had a good heart. And that was great about here. And you know how some movies and shows we review that the hero or the main star of the project, he's trying to find something. He's trying to find purpose.
Yeah.
Here is not that case.
I mean, he
No,
kinda does wanna find purpose at one point.
he wants to act.
Yes, he wants to act, but he also enjoyed being a hero, like, but
Well,
as a
no,
genuine hero.
but that was by accident. You
Yeah,
know what
no,
I'm saying?
no,
Like,
but
and a lot of
sometimes
stuff is the
you find that purpose is, put upon you, and you find it,
right.
and you realize that's a thing that you would like to do, you know?
Right, I get that, but for like me, like, he got a rush from the first time,
I would say even
and
before that, because they even commented, like, when they were, like, was it some of the managers were talking to him, and he's in costume before the whole incident,
mhm,
like,
with
he
Kevin Bacon?
yeah, with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
He's genuinely talking about, like, "You gotta be good with the kids," and, like, the guy's like, "You're a little bit too much into this." But,
Well,
like,
yeah,
he really does. Is like a person who's a huge comic book fan. Like, say, I'm a big Captain America fan, but
Mhm.
I not just because he's a cool comic book character. It's the essence or the aura of the like he
Right.
believes in that.
Well, we remember we saw him when he was working out. He was watching the commercial for it, the
Yeah,
trailer, and he's getting excited. He's doing the same thing. He's doing the pose, saying the lines, just like the
yeah.
guy did. Terrible costume, by the way.
I
So,
mean, he was just gonna be like he's like the guy on the street corner, playing Spider-Man, you know?
no, but I'm just saying that that costume was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Shades, like big ass shades. That costume with the pinstripe trunks.
Yeah.
I understand it's red, white, and blue because it was a mixture like of Superman, Captain America, as we mentioned,
Mhm.
and probably another character, maybe Spider-Man.
I was thinking, either Shazam or Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy?
Yeah, because Mork would he had an outfit, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a red and silver. It was just red with a silver triangle and like
True,
silver
but
boots.
it was like a one piece, like a onesie.
Well, yeah, it had a zipper and all, yeah, yeah. But it wasn't tights. It was anyway. But anyway,
Blank Man.
but that was funny though when I saw the guy who played Captain Avenger. I was like, oh my god, he'll be so easily recognized with that hair.
Yeah. Wasn't that an actual like a guy, an actor, like making a cameo or something like that? Um,
An actor making a cam. What? I'm talking
li-
about a guy who played actual Captain Avenger.
yeah, he looked familiar, is what I'm saying. I just couldn't
Oh,
put a name on it. Oh, Rod Hayes.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's in History of the World Part 1. He played a Roman
Okay.
officer. He was in Battlestar Galactica. He Legends of the Superheroes. He played the Flash with Adam West.
Oh, that one when no one can recognize the face anyway because he's wearing a full bodysuit with.
I
Shut up.
recognize the hair.
Oh, how? How do you recognize the hair when he's the Flash and he's wearing the costume head to toe?
I'm just saying to myself, self, that guy looks like someone I've seen before.
You call yourself self. You don't call yourself Alan.
You do? You
I say Angel.
oh,
I liked it because he had good morals. He had good upbringing, good manners. Like this guy he was very optimistic.
like
Like
Ted Lasso.
yes, you do a good thing, you'll get it back in return.
Yes, very much so.
Play
Mhm.
it forward. So he always had a very positive outlook. And I always say this movie is more of a love story.
That part I felt a little bit more cringe.
At the end, I did. Yes, he's doing his thing. Like he's a struggling actor.
Mhm.
He's not, he wants to being a star, he wants to be in plays, whatever, but he's not doing well. Oh, in the beginning when he's talking to that girl, which was really funny because I knew that I could tell they were going over the lines. But you see the
Yeah.
lady behind who doesn't know, and she's like looking at them and like, oh my god, what the drama that you
Yeah.
find out in New York streets.
Which that was
It
one of the
was,
best actings in the movie at the
oh
beginning.
yeah, yeah, and they're like, that she forgets, like, I can't remember the line, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, to me, it was like a love story, and everything else was all consequential in the sense of that, of him trying to get the girl. She's like, no.
Mhm.
But then she's starting to fall for him here and there. And then she pushes him away because she knows she's liking him and she's makes any excuse. I got to focus on my career right now. I can't do this. I can't be in a relationship. Even though she was trying to get a relationship with her ex, she was trying to go back with him, going on these long
Yeah.
ass dates. But then she saw something in him that kind of scared her.
I mean, yeah, it scared her because of the fact that he was kind of just like on her every single moment.
Well, no, but he was giving her the attention. He noticed her.
I would dare say he didn't notice her. He was a stage 5 clinger. As soon as he started talking to her, he's like, I'm going to confess everything to you. I'm going to knock on your door. I'm going to
Well,
tell
no,
you
he had other time.
everything.
No, but see, for me, that was more like what we saw
Uh-huh.
was I want to take my chance now. He knew who she was plenty of times, but he's like, I'm going to take my chance right now, and I'm going to go for it.
And he got shot down and he still kept going.
Yeah, he said. Well, he kept going. Yeah, because he broke the ice. Now, granted, security for that film scene for the dog commercial, that's pretty lazy. No
Oh,
one
that's true too.
protected. It's like what? But no, but I'm just saying, I just like to see that because it was, yeah, like you said, very Ted Lasso. In a sense, this guy is very positive. He sees the good in people. He sees the good in New York, even though he's being spat on, punched, whatever, put down.
I mean, it
He's still,
was. Yeah.
yeah, but he's had a great outlook, and that's very hard to find. And
Mhm.
so for me, watching this at this current time in our lives was refreshing.
I'll give you that.
I do like though, in the sense of when he goes out into the tax because he was a taxi driver in between auditions, that he's waiting in a taxi, listening to the radio.
Mhm.
What did that remind you of?
Mr. Incredible?
Yes, yes. Him and Frozone.
Frozone?
Yes, they're talking. They're waiting for the radio. Exactly. I saw the same thing, and so that makes me wonder if Brad Bird got that scene as an influence from this movie.
May have been, like, inspired.
I just find it funny though, like back in the day, especially those when someone gets shot, is never like solid. It's always a scrape.
Well, literally, like, his was, like it looked like a flesh wound. It didn't even
It
look.
looked like a knife cut.
Yeah, and you notice when she goes to touch his arm.
No pain.
No, no, no. So there was a moment where he's like, she goes to touch his arm, and she touches the arm that wasn't shot, and he goes, "Ow!"
He was still in the trench coat.
He was either in a trench coat or in her room at that time.
Yeah, but it's funny though. Like he has the cut. It's not profusely bleeding,
Yeah,
and then she's touching it, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm reading the paper."
yeah.
No, and she's putting stuff on it like alcohol. I don't care. That would burn.
Hmm.
Mom would be like putting the whole bottle on the cut.
Yeah, you would know.
Yes, I would know. I would know. Before we go into the bad parts and then good parts, I just also noticed, I don't know if you noticed it, but a lot of times hear people in the background saying stuff. Like when the reporter was interviewing the shopkeepers that he saved, protected,
Yeah.
right? He says, "Thank you for your time." And you hear the old man as the camera pulls away. "You're welcome." Like
Yeah.
you hear that.
I
And
I
then
I did hear there was like I think it was in one of the trivia's like they didn't do a good job of filtering out the audio or
oh, I
or
thought it was
or or
great.
dubbing it. No, because like there was a moment where like in the same scene of the taxi where he's going over the radio,
Hmm.
listening for the CB, you could tell the signal is changing, but he's listening to the audio, the CB, like nothing's happening. That just shows that they don't always sync up, the dubbing versus what's
But
actually happening.
also what's funny is that and I was like, damn, like that would not be able to be done today. The scene with Kevin Bacon in the beginning, and then he
Yeah.
goes back onto the bus,
Okay.
right? And the kids are like, bye, bye, Captain Avenger. And there's like other kids, like the kids that they're playing with him or messing with him. You hear one kid said, "Faggot." Did you hear that?
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah, I'm not
rewound it because
surprised.
I was like, what? So I rewound it. Those hoodlums, if you will, or thugs. Kevin Bacon
Yeah.
was one of them. They're still ragging on him,
But I mean,
being
I guess it depends on the type of movie. I mean, like
well, no,
probably like
back then it was more freeing in the sense of saying that. But I'm saying about today, that word would not be allowed.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It'll probably be in
Yeah.
like you'll see it like maybe in a rated R movie or something like that. Yeah, like
That or yeah,
yeah. But you
but
wouldn't see it necessarily on a PG-13 movie where it's meant to be a family wholesome thing.
well, I mean, I think it was also I appreciated it, not in that they said it, but the show like what his world dealt with.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Like in the sense that it's not really good that the word is used. It's more
Hmm.
as a audio or visual aid to portray his environment.
Right. Do you have a favorite moment?
Mm.
Like that scene when you're think about that, like that scene when he decides to protect the shopkeepers, which is very Shazam
Or Batman.
sense.
Yo, he swung in like Adam West. Like he was like,
Well, yeah.
ha.
Oh, did you notice that too? In the sense of the trailer for Captain Avenger, he crashes through the ceiling roof, and where we have seen that every Batman incarnation, Batman falls through the glass roof.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, he swings, but he says the same line as Captain Avenger says, you don't mind if I drop by. But I would have liked to have seen him in that moment of, I got to do something. Because all you do is you see him look at the thugs, and then he just changes and intervenes. I would just like know that little moment of should I not? Without doing that, also shows he's a person of good, protect the weak,
Yeah.
protect
I mean, the
the
should I nots came by like when he's getting business offers and stuff to
well, that
fake
yeah,
it.
but that's different. That's again morals in a sense, like not to be a sellout, to hold on to your morals,
Hmm.
to have principle. That's very hard to see nowadays, especially nowadays. So you see
Yeah.
that then is like, it's not about the money for him. It never was. Obviously, it wasn't because he got kicked out of his apartment. So it wasn't about that. And to me, that was, again, that was refreshing. Did you figure out a favorite moment?
I wasn't even a big fan of Jay Marsh character because to me she was too wishy-washy.
She seemed very materialistic.
Yeah, but I I did like the moment when she's getting bombarded by all the reporters, and
Oh, yes.
she goes, "Mister, I have a mean knee. If you don't want to sing soprano, I suggest you move."
That was a good one. And, you know, she's defending him, but that way, yeah, it was good.
I mean,
And it was just weird.
she defended him because she had no choice. Like if the
Well,
reporters
yes,
didn't go to her, like first of all, who knew she was dating? No one knew.
exactly. It's like that was weird. Like they know like where he lives and all this. I was like,
Hmm.
this is pre-internet, so how does everyone know where everyone is? It was just kind of funny and weird at the same time. I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of creepy that everyone knows where he is. But
Also,
now
I had a lot of problems.
I had problems with the end. The ending was really weird for me.
Well, it
But
felt like a stage play at the ending, because the
yeah,
way they did you know what it reminded me of? The Universal stunt show, Universal Studio stunt
yes,
show. That's what exactly it reminded me of because like it's like, oh my
the
god, there's gonna be an
right,
explosion! Don't go in. Goes in.
right,
He's on the
right.
roof. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah.
Indiana Jones show. So
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah.
I mean, I did think it was cool that moment where he gets the kid and they show the smoke and the fire and whatnot. For whatever reason, that reminded me of Batman. I remember like a Batman story where like he's trying to rescue a kid in a fire and the kid's a little bit afraid. Kind of gave me that vibe, but I didn't like the news reporter either.
Blew
Thing
up
out
his
the
spot.
water.
Yeah.
I get you want to blow up someone's spot, but she felt like Eddie Brock to me in the sense like I only got part of the story and I'm just gonna run with that. I didn't do the full research.
Yes, she's doing for the gotcha moment or the
Yeah.
breaking news, whatever.
But then
And
when he actually proves that he's a good guy, she's
right.
like, "Well, maybe it was just somebody just being a good Samaritan and doesn't do that." And the way that they make it sound like, "Oh, she's actually being a good person or he converted her." No, that's you're covering your ass by not doing anything
Right.
and you're keeping your own story. Run it that he's actually a good guy and
Mhm.
apologize.
Yes, exactly. But no, we don't get that. So at the end, he goes in and saves the kid and he drops the kid off. From there on, it was like, what the hell?
It
You
turned
know?
into Spider-Man 2 on the subway train.
Well, not just that, but like you said, it was like Universal Studio fireworks show that or stunt show that the he drops off the kid, it explodes. You would think from that explosion that he would have fallen out, right? But
Yeah,
somehow he's sucked in. Those two guys go in to rescue him. They pull him out. There is really no damage to him.
he
His
got a
suit is
limp.
not, well, a little bit,
Yeah.
but the suit is not damaged. There's no like dirt or grime or soot from the fire or the smoke on him or those guys. And
Yeah.
then they go in towards the crowd. No fireman or paramedic or what have you check on him because he could have smoke inhalation, whatever.
Like you said before, the police and the firemen were doing a credit
Oh
judgment
my
because
God.
like
The policeman,
he's just hanging out with everybody.
sucked.
He's just
The
hanging out with
firemen's,
everybody.
but no, the fire department, they did more than the police did. The police had just looked up.
No, he literally stood behind the fire chief. Who's holding the line?
Who stood behind the fire chief?
He did.
No, he didn't. When?
Like when the fire chief was like, "Don't send anybody else in. Pull people out." And he's like there, like right next to him, listening.
Really? He was by the crowd, and then he went around to the side of the
No,
building to
he
climb
was
up.
like within 5 feet of all the conversations. This is
Hmm.
why I low key think in my mind that he went through a psychotic break.
You think he went Joker?
No, not like evil, just like
No,
his
I'm saying like
perception, like
he's
his
right.
perception
That's
of
what I'm saying.
reality is off.
Maybe since you said it's like a ends like a play at the end of them walking on the sidewalk, so maybe that could be a case. And that's the case, I got to rewatch it
I
because
mean,
now it's
because
like
like
the whole perception is different.
yeah, because like the relationship that's like a neighbor that just approaches you, keeps approaching you, and then you're gonna be like, okay, come into my 1 bedroom apartment, live here with me.
Is that actually not a one bedroom? It's a studio apartment. No, it was because her
Come into
bed is right.
my room with my toilet.
That's not a studio, but okay. All right.
I'm just saying. The fact is, should like just stay with me, go out, and he's chasing down people with his taxi. First of
Mhm.
all, I know you got those taxis; they're very expensive, and
Right.
if you don't own it, you got to rent it.
You're
So
renting it and you
and
got to
he's
pay for the
like
debt.
literally crashing his taxi into other
Mhm.
cars.
And then he has to pay for the damages. And
Exactly.
if he's not taking fares, he's not making money. So now you're fucking with my head
Yeah. I mean,
because
did
now
he
you're making me think like,
also did he
shit,
lose
this
the
is his hit.
taxi? Because like he had no place to go, but he had a taxi. So where did the taxi go? Did he lose the taxi because of the incident being the shot?
I don't
Seriously?
know.
And like
Mm, yeah.
the whole interaction with the city and like the people,
How
it's just
fast they turned on him?
well, how fast he gets recognized, how fast he gets turned on. Like, how is this really everything that's happening? At least that was my takeaway, and I watched it sober.
Wow. No, but you're making valid points. Damn. Making valid points.
Because you
Yeah.
get also think about like how
Well,
it
now the
started.
thing is also
He's a
like,
guy who's struggling as an actor. He's
mhm,
struggling. He doesn't live necessarily well. He's a super nice guy. Nothing against that.
yeah, right.
Every chance he gets, he gives to others people, believing he's
Yeah.
going to get it paid back. And other
Hmm.
people tell him like, "You're just letting people walk on you." It's kind of like Man Falling Down, but in a positive way. Uh,
Who?
the Michael Douglas film.
Falling down.
Falling Down, but in a positive way, because in Falling Down, he believes he's the hero.
Yeah, yeah. But he's causing harm
He's causing
where
harm.
this one is not. He's
Yeah,
actually, protecting.
but if you're
Um,
looking at it from his perspective, and if my theory is right, is he really seeing that he's causing no harm, or is he potentially causing harm and he doesn't recognize that?
well, the harm he caused, I would say, in the sense of like on that when he went to the mayor speaking to get the key of the city, once it was exposed, that exposure of him led to people fight each other because some believed in him, some believed into the accusations.
Yeah,
And you're a phony. He's not a phony, blah, 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 and fisticuffs. Damn it. Why'd you do that? Why'd you say that? Damn.
I wasn't intending for it to ruin your experience. I was just
No,
saying,
there's
like,
a great perspective to look at it.
the fact that he's like so close he can hear what the firemen are saying. I think that will be more of his head. He'll see it's like disaster, imagines in a
Mhm.
situation, conversation. I'm the only one that can do this. Let me run in.
Well, he
Yeah.
went, like I was saying, he went through like instead of going straight in the building, he went around to go up the side to go across to go into
Yeah, but
the
he was close enough to hear everything,
no,
which
I get
was
that. I
just
get that.
rough
I
to
get that.
picture.
Well, for me, like I said, at the end where they take him out and he's like kind of limping, right? But then he doesn't limp. No one checks on his vitals. He's a-okay. She comes in, I love you. I'm like, how does she love him in a matter
Exactly.
of days?
Exactly.
And
The
then they
psychosis.
and then he walks away with her, or they walk away. The reporters don't follow. The cops don't stop him for questioning. Again, he's not checked for vitals.
Was there a real fire? Was she really there?
See, now you're messing with my head. Oh,
I mean, she could have kept him in his apartment to keep him safe and whatnot, but
oh,
did he really have a relationship with her? You know,
right. No, you're making too much sense, and I don't like it.
uh,
Oh,
to me, that's a better story.
yeah.
But I'm just
And
saying,
well, and it makes sense too when you hear the like people saying off screen, and you hear it kind of clear, like when he gave that derogatory word for gay men, and when you hear the old man say thank you to the reporter, like there's stuff being said clearly for us, but is off camera. So that kind of also
and
makes sense
now that
that
he's the only one hearing it,
right. He was being made fun of by the kids, and then he's going onto the bus and he hears it. That's like the last thing he hears before the door closes on the bus.
is like his subconscious.
Right. That's a good observation and or a good perspective to see the movie. That is no, that is actually very good.
Thank you, thank you.
You know how the Matrix, the first one is good and the sequels kind of suck, but if
Mhm.
you take it in the perspective of is not Neo's story, but Mr. Smith's story, it takes it to another
Mhm.
point
Except
of
for the
view,
last one.
and well, it could still be a story. Yeah. Wow. Wow, that's a very good yeah. Because the thing is, everyone has a threshold, like falling down.
Yeah,
He had, he had that one day. Joker, it takes just one day or one moment to turn,
yeah. Well,
to
I
flip.
mean, there's a lot of I like a lot of movies like that. I remember falling down bits and pieces. I don't
Mhm,
remember watching the whole thing, but
mhm.
I do remember it was as a kid, I thought, "Wow, this is oddly weird and good." Shutter Island,
Yes,
Fight Club. You take
yes.
those movies where like the perception of reality can easily be twisted, and like and whether they
It
realize it or not, it adds a whole
Inception.
different layer. Inception, yeah.
But with those movies, you have an explanation of some kind that you know that it was in the hero's head.
In most cases, yeah.
Here you don't,
Yes.
you know, and you have the case too of the producer trying to pull some strings to help get the mayor reelected, whatever. So how would he know that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
That's
there
like,
could be some situations where there could be events that actually did happen, but the thing
mhm,
is, we as the audience are seeing it through his eyes. How do we know what's real, what's not real? The only things that could be real are the things that are like you can't diffuse,
right.
potentially in discussion.
Right, and, like, what she said to the reporters, how could he know that what she said because of the where he was and where she was, and there all the reporters are yelling, talking to her, asking questions, so he doesn't know what she exactly said, but he may have
Mhm.
thought that's what she said in a
Yeah.
sense of that, right? And then imagine that she's watching the TV, watching the key ceremony, and she's falling for him for what he's saying and stuff like that. Maybe, right? So that's a good one. Now let's go into reviews because the gummies are kicking in.
Yeah.
Again, on Rotten Tomatoes, 3 reviews, but 0 score by the critics. I guess they didn't like it so much they didn't bother putting a score. And by the audience, it is 68%. How do you see this or score it?
Maybe 50, 59. If wasn't for you, it wouldn't be on my radar. And I like
Right,
John
right,
Ritter.
right.
I really
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Hmm.
But I would have never considered like, oh, John Ritter, I should watch Hero at Large.
But see, for me, I'll give it 75.
Okay. I mean,
But
this didn't feel like it was made for movie theaters. It felt like it was made for TV.
But back then, that's how it was a lot of times. A lot of movies
I get you.
that what that today will be streaming only or straight to DVD, we had that in the theaters. I love the lightheartedness and the optimism and the
Hmm.
positivity of his character. But what you're saying now, that it could be a perception in his head, because he's a struggling actor, not making it, things are
Hmm.
not going his way. He's not from New York. He's from another he's from a small town, struggling, his apartment is a wreck. You see all these posters and all this stuff. His life is not together. But putting that into perspective and things coming together in his mind makes total sense.
True. Yeah.
And fuck you for that. I mean, no, it's a great catch and a great observation. So kudos for you. For me, it is worth the watch.
Okay. I'll give it a one and done.
Fair enough. But what about the costume? I mean, I told you I think the costume was silly. What do you think about the costume? Because the costume was very, like you said, movie made for television. That costume looked like it was made for television.
I mean, that costume to me was meant to be that silly because he looked like a street performer, which he was.
Oh, so let me tell you about that. So yes, you're right. You know, like what he did and what those actors were doing, like help promote a film.
Yeah.
I was approached to do that as well for a
Rec-
film.
Recently?
No, not recently. No, when
Uh,
I lived in New York.
oh, okay.
When I lived in New York and I was, teaching martial arts and trying to get into acting and all that stuff,
Hmm.
I was asked wear the Bruce Lee Game of Death outfit, the yellow and black trim,
You had that
right?
outfit.
I do, but it doesn't fit. I've got the wrong size, too big. So anyway, because I thought I was still growing, and no, but it was for some movie. I can't remember the movie, but it was also during around Asian Film Festival, and
Okay.
this was like 15, almost 20 years ago. I turned it down because I was, even though I wanted to be an actor, I didn't want to go out there and embarrass myself and then see people that I know because where they were having the premiere and
I
all that
see. You,
stuff,
you didn't want to be seen. I can get it.
it's like a,
Like that.
yeah.
That's actually like a lot of people will see. Oh, he must be struggling.
Well, yeah, but but the thing is, like, I knew so many people in New York. I knew so many people in New York, and I just didn't want to go. I don't know why. And the thing is, when you're acting, if you're a struggling actor, you take whatever you can to get noticed, to be recognized, to get work. Because
True.
the thing is, you never know what you will lead from that one incident. Like you meet someone else, oh hey, I'm working on a project, I'm gonna do this or blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? And I slept on that opportunity and I should have taken it. But I guess I didn't want it bad enough because I was had a job and teaching
Yeah.
and
You could have
I
been
was
Captain Avenger.
In a way, I was. Or I would have been.
Yeah.
Yes, you're totally right. All right, guys. That is our throwback review of Hero at Large. Have you seen it? What was your favorite moment? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Until next time, will be the next time. I'm Angel.
I'm a Don.
Love you, bro.
Love you too.